In the beginning, when woman and man were nothing more than in the imagination of the Creator, there was an unreal peace over all the inhabitants of the earth. And yet God wanted to be loved and cherished, so in her own image she created woman and man to sit alongside each other as caretakers of the earth. And amidst all the creations of her heart, she placed man and woman above all and gave them free will. But alas, out of mankind's free will came the ability to question, and from the tree of knowledge came the evils of man's heart. And God cried red. Over time, man multiplied and no longer saw each other as brothers, but as intruders on the land that God created for all creatures. And man did not listen to the one Creator. Now man made their own gods and died for stone. Man died for the land that was not theirs to own. Man took up weapons of stone and bone and killed over the land that God created for them to share. And God cried red for the bloodshed. She cried for the dead. And in the heart of man there always existed the potential to realize the truth. But man had developed religion, and now man died for religion and killed for principle and for power. And again man went to war. Throughout the land metal swords and iron shields clanged and cut through flesh and bone. Brother against brother, clan against clan, and tribe against tribe. And man died for the hate of himself. Suffering was imposed on those who were weak, whole peoples enslaved, nations rose to the power by the edge of a blade, and the earth soaked with red from the blood of man. And God cried red for the bloodshed. She cried for the dead. Over time, man developed and created more weapons of war and destruction. From stones and spears, bows and swords, shields and crossbows came a black powder, and from that powder came muskets, cannons, rifles, and all over earth man killed and plundered for religion, principle, country, and in the name of God conquered nations. And God cried red for the bloodshed. She cried for the dead. And again, once again, man developed and created weapons and machines of mass destruction, and man killed and imprisoned and murdered one another. Only this time the toll of death was like never before seen. The whole world went to war twice in less than 40 years. From the rifle came rapid-firing rifles developed into machine guns, and from steel and iron came machines never before seen. Jeeps, tanks, planes, missiles and landmines, grenades, bombs, and a weapon so horrific it could destroy all of creation by the push of a button in the time it takes you to blink. And again God cried red for the bloodshed. She cried for the dead. And man developed more and more advanced weapons of mass destruction. Man created missiles that could be fired thousands of miles away, jets that fly high into space, nuclear submarines to sit quietly on the ocean bottom, made cities to float on the sea for a ready full assault, chemical germs and biotechnologies to infect enemy nations. Man developed machines to kill with no conscience, satellites to hear the enemy, and man trusted no one. And again God cried red for the bloodshed. Only this time it was not for the dead, but for the living and what was ahead.